Hello, ThyGapians. Welcome to the all-new ThyGap episode. This is me being Brute, and with me is...
Bogus Noog.
Bogus Noog is here in the room, people. Don't clap, it's not necessary. Bogus, today we are going to discuss It's Not Easy, Courage.
Wow. Courage.
It's exactly the thing you need to stand in front of me with your head down.
I'm seated right now.
Potato. What is your feeling about the topic? I've selected it. Take your time.
As usual, bro, it's not easy to talk about these topics.
Yeah.
That's why we choose them.
We choose tough ones. We bite the bullet.
Yeah. We don't go off the beaten path.
Yeah.
As they say. So courage. Before we even get into it, I think we should probably just start off with the baseline of what courage is.
Setting the tone, yes, it's a good point. We're going to start off with what courage means, the definition of courage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, just so we're all on the same page.
Same page. That's what we want to be.
Right.
We want to be sheep.
No.
Okay, that's what we're all going to be. Sheep, thinking the same thing. What's your definition, Bogus?
I mean, the colloquial definition of courage is...
Be brave.
No, that's a synonym of courage, according to these people on the internet.
Yeah.
Which I have a problem with. But the colloquial definition, according to them, seems to be the act of, persisting with something or the act of doing something in light of a threat or some danger.
Against a stronger or...
I mean, just doing it even though there is a threat or a danger or some kind of danger at the other end.
Yes.
If you still persist and you continue to do whatever act you are doing, then you're said to have courage.
Courage. Great definition. But it also kind of rings a bell that it can easily be misconstrued as foolish. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the blurred lines.
Yeah.
But I think I agree to that definition. But since you said it's a colloquial definition, I just want to wrap it up, re-articulate it. And this is, by the way, I'm stealing your definition. Courage is you controlling your fear and still going ahead.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that's the definition of courage.
So basically where you don't get too overwhelmed by the fear.
Yeah.
You don't let it numb you into inaction.
Yeah.
But you learn how to manage it or hold on to it, compartmentalize it and still go ahead.
Right.
And do the thing.
Right. Now, seems like an easy definition.
Yeah, the definition is easy.
It's fucking simple.
Yeah.
Right? It's foolish.
Yeah.
But now the big question, the $1 million question is, why is it not easy to have courage?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would have asked you.
If only we...
because this was your topic. So,
if only we knew the answer.
You go, bro. You go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Why is it not easy?
Anything that's simple is never easy to do. And I feel the reason why courage is not easy, right? To be courageous in life in general is not easy because, okay, this is purely subjective once again, just putting it out there. We are too afraid, and we are afraid of the unknowns. I think that's the major problem. The problem is, for example, we often step aside from what we feel right because we feel that it's foolish to just stick to it when it doesn't have any practical implications, right? And that is a major blocker. And you will come across this day in, day out. You'll come across this at your workplace. You'll come across this at your school, your friends, your family. Yeah. Because you're being bombarded with it and it's so damn tough to keep up with it. You rather let it go. Yeah. And that's a huge mistake that we do. Because we don't really, I think the other problem is we don't really try to understand or dissect where courage comes from. I mean, it's there in the definition, but we don't know where do we get it from. Yeah. That's another huge problem with this.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, slightly differently, I think the biggest blocker to courage is fear itself.
Yeah.
And
because we're too afraid.
It's just, it becomes such a big, because sometimes the fear is completely unknown, like you said. But sometimes the fear is vaguely known that, okay, if I put my foot down in this situation, if I stand up for what I believe in, I know for a fact that I might lose my job.
Yeah.
Or I might lose some kind of social standing.
Yeah.
So sometimes they are vaguely known, sometimes it is completely unknown, but basically it all boils down to fear itself.
Yeah.
And it ties into our episode on it's not easy integrity.
Yeah.
Because basically integrity, when you have to show integrity, you're inviting a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So it really takes a lot of courage. It needs courage to actually show integrity in the first place.
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, then courage becomes an even lower layer or a more foundational layer than integrity as well.
True.
Because you need this to, do that.
Absolutely.
So we know now that it is fear itself, sometimes known vaguely or sometimes completely unknown, that becomes the biggest hurdle to courage.
Yeah.
But then if someone wanted to develop courage, or, if someone wanted to build up courage in their lives, then what are the factors that, they can take courage from? Or what are the factors that contribute to courage in an individual, you think?
Yeah, I think this is the this is a $1 billion question. If the $1 million question is what is courage, then I think where does courage come from is like the $1 billion question.
We've asked both questions, but we're not getting any money for it.
No money at all. I'm almost emotional here that we have zero money.
I know.
Asking such tough,
$1 billion
expensive questions.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things. I mean, it's very difficult to pinpoint on one thing and say that this is where courage comes from.
Yeah.
So let me put it out there that whatever I feel or I believe are a factor that will help you garner courage is what I'm going to put out there. Now, the first and foremost thing that I hand to my heart, where I strongly believe courage comes from, is self-belief.
Okay.
Self-belief is an extremely important factor. According to me, it's the root source of upteen number of tools that you can use to be or go to the best form of yourself. And courage is one of those tools that you can get out of self-belief.
Yeah.
If you are aware, if you have the quality of understanding yourself and especially your strengths, if you have the quality of knowing your strengths, what is your forte, what is your capability, to what extent you can go, those aspects in itself will derive courage in you.
Right.
So it's just not about, oh, I think I'm right, but it is also about, I think I'm right because I can do ABCD things. I believe I can perform these tasks, or I can apply myself in these places.
Right.
That belief system in itself will, infuse courage in you.
Yeah. I think that definitely is one of the factors that contribute to courage in an individual's self-belief. But I think there's more to this, which I want to come back on. The other factors, like one other factor that I can think of is sometimes it is purely hereditary.
Genetics.
Microbiology.
Microbiology.
Well, I don't know if that's the same thing, but...
It is. It's all microbiology. It's all micro.
And what I mean by that is genetics are nothing but code,
genes,
or information, that's stored in your DNA.
Yeah.
That gets passed on from, ancestor and ancestor onwards.
From the Adam and Eve's.
To you.
Yeah.
And there's no control over what kind of information is being passed on. It can be really random. And it's not something that I think an individual can use, or like knowing that, okay, it gets passed on through genetics, so I can do something to use that. I don't think it's useful in any way today. But I still think it is important enough to know that it is definitely one of the factors that courage comes from, among many other things that gets passed on through your gene code.
Good handwriting, singing,
good
dancing,
looks.
good looks, yes. Brains. But unfortunately, only 2 people got that in the whole world sitting in this room.
And you can follow us.
Yes. You should follow us. You can. Illa.
So hereditary is one. For sure.
I agree to that point. In a sense, courage is also a derivative of experiences, tough experiences. Like you said, being in a situation where you're afraid to go into because of the obvious threat or the unknown threat or whatever. Yeah. So once you bypass that, now you have transformed yourself. Yeah. Case in point is army people. When army people go through their drill, right? When you join the military, you're put through like horrible drills, rigorous drills which abuse your body to the point that nothing is foreign to the body. You take a bullet, your body is like, I can still function. So once they come out, there is nothing that scares them. Right?
You're building tolerance.
Yeah, you built like infinite tolerance to things. Everything looks small. In that sense, you can obviously make it. If you are able to do that in one lifetime to yourself, imagine the very core on which you are built on, which is your DNA, which has been storing information for
thousands of years.
Billions of years. We only speak in billions, bogus. Okay, there's no thousands for us.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to contribute us billions, it's like, don't contribute thousands and all. Patreon guys and all that. Okay, whatever. But you get the point, right?
Not like Zimbabwean currency though. Yeah.
Please no Venezuelan, Zimbabwean and all. Singapore, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But you get the point. Coming back, don't digress, folks. When the DNA is storing information out of experiences for billions of years, it's only obvious that is also a root cause of how you're built.
Yeah.
Even like mentally. And that's why I do agree that it is a very important factor that gives you. But yes, we are still kind of researching of how we can use that to our benefit.
Yeah, yeah.
What else? What else do you got? So we got self-belief, we got hereditary, genes, Wrangler, Levi's, and Cilio. What else?
Well, I'd say culture or education or tradition or stories. I'm kind of mixing these all up. And by education,
what is this grocery list?
I don't mean academic education.
It's not like math, social science.
Yeah. What I mean is, from when you're kids, if you're born in a country or a culture that is old.
I think values. Do you think
cultural values? You grow up with these stories of, it could be mythical heroes or historical figures in your society who went to great lengths for an ideal cause or something, or what they believed in. And you grow up as a kid, you're being told these stories. You have no idea of what the consequences are, but you know that, okay, this situation existed and this particular character that I admire actually went to these great lengths. And, even though they stood to probably lose their life, they still, marched on and they still pushed on. And at the end, this was the result of it. So just knowing those stories, I think that is also some place where people could derive a sense of courage from.
So can you put all this in under the bracket of inspiration?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, cultural values inspire you. Right? Stories inspire you. Heroic stories inspire you.
Yeah. And inspiration could be contemporary also. Like my best friend could demonstrate an extremely courageous act. And that itself could make me think like, well, he can do it then. Maybe I can do it. Yeah.
And not just friends. I think even parents.
Yeah, parents.
Hardworking mothers or like mothers who have broken a stereotype or anything, and whatever. I mean, long story short. But inspiration, I think, definitely is a huge influencer of courage. Having said that, don't get inspired by characters like Howard Rourke.
Okay.
From Ayn Rand, Fountainhead. Don't. It's idiotic. Then you are foolish.
There are some.
Then you are not courageous.
Some of those characters are like purely idealistic.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Without any practicality. Like, no.
They're good in the books. Not outside.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a huge fan of sports. Once again, like, you use in the contemporary world, like, you use the word like heroic more in sports than, because in the true sense. Right? We're not demeaning anybody here, but it's a fact. Media chooses to use heroic loosely on sports heroes. But having said that, irrespective of how, it is being portrayed, if you participate in any form of sports, any sports where there's a number one ranker and there's an underdog who wins over the top seeded person, it shows, it instills courage in you. It gives you that inspirational value or inspirational quotient. I don't know how you put it. How do you measure inspiration? It's an interesting thing. Nobody measures inspiration, right?
Check out our episode on inspiration. We already recorded one.
Yeah, but I think we didn't cover how do we measure inspiration.
No, we probably did. Check it out.
Okay, anyways. Good point, Bogus. You tend to get that figure. Like the stories that we know of, like an 83 World Cup win in India produced a Sachin. Right? And a Sachin produced God knows how many cricketers. Right? So that's how it works. It gives you the courage to go behind a dream. Inspirations work like that. It helps you take up the road less traveled. So inspiration is a good point. But the bigger question, now we are going to the $1 trillion question level. What do you get out of courage?
Well, even before that, there's one more factor, which is fear itself.
Oh yeah, how can we forget the obvious?
How can you forget, you mean?
No, we. It's always we, Bogus.
Right.
There is no I in team, okay?
But fear itself also is a factor for courage in the sense that, yes, like we described earlier, fear tends to be one of the biggest blockers for displaying courage. But there are instances where fear itself is used as a motivation for pushing someone on. And the biggest example for that we have is
Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson.
who has a quote, right?
Yeah, he says that the reason he succeeded so much because he was having this huge fear of failure.
Yeah.
He hated failing.
Right.
And because he feared that someday he'll fail, or he might fail at any given point, he used that energy to prepare so well that he ensured that he succeeded.
Yeah.
And that is how you use fear to garner courage again.
And that's also inspirational, because
It's inspirational, yes.
it's very rare that you hear someone who has channeled fear in a positive way,
Yeah.
like Mike Tyson did.
Yeah.
So people who tend to get blocked or tend to feel numb by fear, maybe it would be helpful to keep in mind that there are people who have used the same thing to actually drive them forward.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing. Now, coming back to the self-belief point, bro.
Oh,
I think that's an important point because, like we said, hereditary, it's just good to know information. It's not something you can use today. Inspiration, yeah, you can use that because you've been growing up with it. You have those examples all around you if you look carefully enough. But self-belief is not something that just drops on you out of the blue, like out of the sky.
Yeah.
It has to be cultivated and it grows incrementally.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what is important to call out is that the first instance for someone who has never displayed courage at all, but wants to, I think they'd have to make peace with the fact that there is a price to pay.
Yeah.
Which is that first instance where they are scared, but they show courage. They may get their hands burnt. They may survive out of it barely. But if you survive...
The story is only good if you survive.
Yeah. If you don't, then, it's...
Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about self-belief and
all. You don't have to worry
Yeah.
about any of those things.
Just worry about your genes.
But if you survive, what happens is the very fact that you went out on a limb and displayed courage, you kind of... it's so wrong that people say courage is when you overcome your fear.
It's
as
not.
if you completely control it.
Yeah,
or
now you don't have fear.
Yeah, that's absolutely
Bullshit.
wrong.
That's foolish.
That is foolish.
Yeah.
I agree. So courage is when you are able to compartmentalize it or when you're able to live with it and still push on. So if you've been able to do it in the first instance, yes, the first instance may be like a major failure. Like you might have had to pay a very big price. But the next instance that you're challenged, because if you're doing anything worthwhile in life, you're constantly going to keep being challenged and you're constantly going to have to apply courage in multiple situations. So the first time that you paid such a high price, the second time on, you will not have to pay the same because that self-belief is starting to, develop within you. Because with every passing experience, you know that, I've already done that. I've survived. So I can probably do this. Now I can go to the next thing. And that's how I think that self-belief thing can be cultivated actually.
Yeah. It works two ways, right? Like the more self-belief you get, the more courageous you get. The more courageous you get, the more self-belief you get.
Yeah.
So...
Simpatico.
Yeah. Is there a word for that?
Yep.
Fuck. I just thought that cyclic.
It is cyclic. No, that's also
so why do you have to say simpatico? Anyways, is it simpatico?
Yeah.
It's a useless word. The worst word ever. But I think that is the beauty of it. The beauty of it is you gotta all you have to do is figure 1 to get 2.
Yep.
You figure out how to be courageous. You get self-belief post that. Saying that, it was not as bad as I thought it would be. Or you develop self-belief and you'll automatically get courageous. You're like, I can deal with it. Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, basically coin the sentiment of what you go through.
Absolutely.
So that, I think it's a good point, because you keep feeding off my points. Good. You're learning fast.
And to the point of, like, if you even have to go further below, and to the point of, like, at that first step, how do you compartmentalize that fear? Like, how do you manage it? I think...
Don't be afraid. Be brave.
I think just realizing the fact that, yes, the fear could be all-encompassing or overwhelming or numbing, but it's not something that will have an end point. Now, what I mean is, like, no matter how intense that fear gets, there is no end point that, okay, now if it gets X intense or this intense, that's it, I'm dead. My life ends. It never happens that way.
Yeah.
Fear can feel, overwhelming, but it has no end point. So if you just stay with it for a while, and if you just sort of observe it, or if you take a deep breath, as they say, if you just try to be with it for a while, you'll realize that no matter how powerful or how intense or how numbing it is, there's only so far it can go. Like, it doesn't go beyond a certain point. So once you realize that knowledge might give you some courage again to actually hold on to it and keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if this is relevant, but there is this thing that was told to me a long while back by a person very close to me. And apparently this is a part of meditation or yoga or whatever. This was during when I was having this very severe leg pain, like horrible leg pain. It was like, I just wanted to cut off my leg kind of a pain. And I had my medications not going down. I was trying everything else. It's not going down. Mm-hmm. So this person came to me and said, okay, there is this technique in meditation or yoga. Mm-hmm. What the technique asks you to do is wherever you have the pain, just observe and focus on the pain.
Right.
Don't try to resolve the pain. Don't try to treat the pain. Just observe the pain till you become the pain.
Yeah, what they mean is also don't try to do anything with it.
Yeah,
except observe.
Observe. Just sit and focus on it. Concentrate on the pain. Just try to understand the nature of it. Which part of the leg it is paining, how bad it is paining. And the person was like, once you come to a point where you are able to anticipate how the pain, it's a throbbing pain basically, right? So if you're able to come to a situation where you can anticipate that this is how the pain is, or this is how the pain is going to behave, let me know how you feel then.
Okay.
Mark my words, I actually started doing it. It's tough. It's not easy. I started observing the pain, and all I was doing was lay still, do nothing about it, and just close my eyes and observe which part of my body I was trying to pinpoint where the pain was, etc., etc. And in about 10 minutes, I started feeling the pain.
Okay.
I don't know if the pain went away,
right,
or if it is still there. I just stopped feeling the pain. And that's something which also works with fear, if I'm not wrong. If you observe your fear, and again, as a person who has hydrophobia, if I observe my fear of hydrophobia, of getting into water, eventually I'm inside the water.
Yeah.
And that I feel is what is courage.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
The power of observing what is the threat. The power of observing what is the danger of the situation or the circumstances, the whole things. I think that very act of standing still and observing it, looking at it into the face. They say that face your fear.
Face your fear, yeah.
It's basically this. I mean, this is my interpretation. And this act in itself of not running away, not doing anything, but standing there, stoic, and observing what is creating the fear is in itself is concept of courage.
Yeah, observe it as if you're a complete third party, unrelated guy just watching something happen on the street.
Yeah, observe it for the sake of it.
No rationalization, no calculation.
No judgment, no analysis of any form.
Yeah.
Just observe the nature of fear. And that act itself is courage. I think that's another thing, how I would probably explain courage to a kid if they ask me.
Yeah, but no kid would talk to you because look at you.
I am a kid.
But it does tend to get easier. The first time is always the hardest.
Always.
But with every passing iteration, it gets a bit easier and easier. It's just like practice, just like anything else. But well and good, bro. We've said what courage is. We've said why it's not easy. But
we said I'm a kid.
We said you're a kid.
Which we are going to edit it off.
But why even bother with this in the first place? Like, is there a benefit? Like, what is the return on investment if anyone wants to develop a sense of courage?
I think it is pretty obvious in my sense. Anything, like you said, I think we've said it a lot of times in this format of it's not easy. Anything worthwhile, anything worth doing something for yourself is important. It's something which is substantial for you. And anything that is substantial inevitably has some kind of a return for you, which I think creates that anxiety. What if it doesn't come?
Right.
What if it doesn't go the right? What if it is not what I was expecting? So these are all things that generally stop us from taking that big leap or going to the next step.
Yeah.
And courage allows you to tackle all this. So if you don't have courage, you're not doing much about yourself.
Yeah.
You're not doing any good for yourself, rather. Let me put it this way.
A quick example would be,
Can I complete burgers or you just want to talk? Why don't you make it like a solo podcast?
please go
If you
ahead.
don't want me to talk. I'll just finish with this, by the way.
Mhm.
Fuck, I forgot the point. You bastard. Yeah. So anything which is important, right? For you to go to the next step, you need courage. And courage acts as the perfect catalyst,
Yeah.
which will open or which will expose you to newer experiences. And that is essential for us to evolve as an individual. So which is why courage is absolutely important in my view.
Yeah.
Because without courage, you would not dare to experience new things. You would not test yourself in tough situations and you would not grow.
Yeah.
And all these three things, I think new experiences, what was the second point? Whatever.
Yeah.
So all these 3 points are really important for you as an individual.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree, obviously. To paraphrase and to add to that is the fact that, the one tendency that we see extremely fearful people tend to have is they'd want to get something without losing anything in return. They're extremely fearful of the consequences of what they might lose if they take a certain step forward. But the fact of life is that there is always a price to pay.
Yeah.
If you want to show integrity, there's a huge price to pay.
Biggest price.
And if you look at all of the It's Not Easy related topics that we've already published and the ones that we are going to publish, all of these, they're not easy because they're worthwhile.
Yeah.
And they're worthwhile for personal growth. They're worthwhile for a good life. At least that's what we think. And there is always a price to pay for these. And the fact that you're walking into something where you might have to sacrifice something or you might have to negotiate a situation that is dangerous or challenging, you're never going to be able to do any of these without having courage in the first place. It's courage that helps you get to each and every one of these things in the end. So without this, it's not just easy, it's probably impossible.
It's non-existent.
Yeah.
Like you are non-existent. But what was the story that you were trying to tell?
What story?
Before you blatantly interrupted me. But I have a story to say for this.
No, that was not a story. It was the same point.
Oh, okay.
So, no, it was the same point, extremely fearful people who don't take risks. The reason why they don't take risks is they're not willing to pay any price. They want to get shit for free.
Yeah. And also, the other thing that I want to mention is whether you develop courage or you are extremely afraid of things, they both are incrementally cyclic. What was this word that you said? Symptomic.
No, simpatico is used for things where, one benefits the other and the other comes back and benefits this. So it's a positive, like a mutual benefit kind of situation.
Still the most useless word.
So in the way you're talking about right now.
Simpatico?
No, it is cyclic only.
Oh.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle.
Yeah.
So if you don't adopt courage, I'm using adopt for the lack of a good word, but if you don't inculcate courage or whatever, then mark my words, there's a bigger price you pay.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might feel you're not paying any price.
In the short term.
There will be a point where you will look back and you will only be filled with regrets. Oh, wish I did that.
Yeah.
All I had to do was, extend my hand and grab it. And courage allows you to see these opportunities.
Yeah.
Fear allows you to see nothing. Like fear makes you close your eyes.
Yeah.
Courage opens your eyes. And I know it's coming across very philosophical and shit, but it actually is true. It's very difficult to explain.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. But courage does that. So please be aware that at least now, it's never too late. If you look back and you feel that, oh, wish I was courageous, that's a sign that you have it in you, but you've chosen not to use it.
Yeah. Another sign is your short-term, are your decisions for the benefit of your short-term comfort or your short-term wins? Then that's a sign that probably you're not making
looking
the
at
right
the bigger
decisions.
picture. Yeah.
And also, if you're too comfortable in your life right now, that's another sign.
Yeah. Be courageous. Courage will help you look at opportunities which otherwise thought were not yours.
And that is why, bro, courage is not
easy. It's not easy.
Okay. You're not going anywhere without, following us on our socials. Instagram @_ThyGap, Twitter @ThyGap, and Facebook ThyGap it is. Or why not write an email to us, mindthygap@gmail.com. For other people who only use Apple, you can also give us a rating and leave a comment on our ThyGap podcast. Because you know what all doctors say, ThyGap podcast. Subscribe and share.